Hello viewers, you're welcome to this lecture series on general biology, and today's lecture we're going to look at the classification of living things, or taxonomy. Now, what is taxonomy? Taxonomy is the branch of biology that deals with the classification of living organisms or living things. It can also be defined as the science of biological classification. In a broader sense, taxonomy consists of three separate but interrelated parts, which include classification, nomenclature, and identification. The term systematics is often used for taxonomy, although it sometimes refers to more general scientific study of organisms with ultimate objective of arranging them in an orderly manner. So taxonomy basically is the classification of living organisms, classifying them into various types. Organisms that have similar characteristics are classified into various taxonomic groups for easier studies and identification. Now, how does the study of taxonomy begin? Let us look at the history of classification of living things. Now, the classification of living things got its start with a Swedish botanist known as Carl Linnaeus. Carl Linnaeus is referred to as the father of taxonomy. Now, Linnaeus, who is a botanist, first started the classification in 1935, and he is known to, up to now, his classification system is being used. Now, while the classification system continues to grow, the taxonomists continue to adopt the template that was established by Linnaeus. Linnaeus was the one that invented the binomial nomenclature, that's the naming of living organisms, given names, two names to living organisms, the genus name and the specific name or the specific epithet. And the system basically is very useful even up to now. He also developed a classification system called Taxonomic Hierarchy, in which he established 7 hierarchical levels. Though currently it's 8, but for him, he started with kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Okay, so the classification system starts out by sorting living organisms into groups based on their characteristics, the characteristics they share. Okay, so they are shared into various groups, and Linnaeus basically, in his first classification, classified living organisms into plants and animals. So now then each of the groups is then broken further into smaller classification systems, more specific classification systems like the class, the order, the family, the genus, and the species. And it's just like the family tree. Yeah, just as you have yourself, your parents, your uncles, your cousins, and all of that, your grandparents. That's how the classification system is. It basically groups living organisms from either the lowest hierarchical level to the highest, or from the highest to the lowest. Alright, so we want to look at the taxonomic hierarchy. What is taxonomic hierarchy? Taxonomic hierarchy basically refers to the sequence of categories of living organisms in increasing or decreasing order. The sequence of categories of living organisms in increasing or decreasing order. Taxonomic hierarchy has 8 ranks. From general to specific, we have the 8 ranks include 1. Domain, then 2. Kingdom, 3. Phylum, 4. Class, 5. Order, 6. Family, 7. Genus, then 8. Species. So the taxonomic hierarchy is domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. However, there are intermediate taxonomic ranks such as sub-kingdom. We also have subclass, subphylum, suborder, subfamily, and then subspecies. Domain. The domain is the highest hierarchical level of classification of living things currently in use. So we want to look at the various taxonomic hierarchy and hierarchical levels and what they are made of. First, the domain. What is a domain? A domain basically refers to a group of taxonomically related kingdoms. A group of taxonomically related kingdoms. So a group of kingdoms that are related, such as the kingdom Plantae, the kingdom Animalia, the kingdom Fungi, the kingdom Protoctista, form a domain. For instance, the domain Eukaryota. Okay, so those ones that have related characteristics are put together to form a domain. The kingdoms form the domains. Domain is the highest classification system, though it wasn't used by Linus, but it was introduced just recently in 1990. Now, the life of all living organisms are classified into 3 domains. Living organisms are classified into 3 domains, and these 3 domains are domain Eukaryota, the domain Archaea or Archaebacteria, and the domain Eukaryota. So these are the 3 domains. All right, so these are basically the 3 domains. The members of the domain Archaea or Archaebacteria are basically single-celled organisms similar to bacteria. And then some Archaea live in extreme environments, but others live in mild ones. So they are basically prokaryotes. So the domain Archaea or Archaebacteria and the domain Eubacteria are basically prokaryotes. They are basically prokaryotic organisms. They do not have membrane-bound nucleus or other organelles. The second hierarchical level is a kingdom. And what is a kingdom? A kingdom is a collection of taxonomically related phyla. A collection of taxonomically related phyla. For instance, in the kingdom Animalia, you have the kingdom Annelida, the kingdom Mollusca. So you have the phylum Mollusca, the phylum Annelida, the phylum Echinodermata, and many others. And these are multicellular organisms that are characterized by features such as ability to move from one place to another, carrying out respiration, multicellularity, and many other features. These ones are classified into the kingdom Animalia, for instance. In biology, a kingdom is the second highest taxonomic rank, just like the domain, just below the domain. Kingdoms are divided into smaller groups called phyla. Now, what is a phylum or division? We want to look at the phylum or division. The word phylum is used for animals and animal-like organisms, while division is used instead of phylum for plants and plant-like organisms like the algae and the fungi. Now, what's a phylum or division? This category of taxonomic hierarchy includes various classes that share a few similar characteristics. Okay, classes that share similar characteristics are classified into phylum. Now, the phylum, which is the level of taxonomic rank below the kingdom and above the class, basically is the third hierarchical level. Traditionally in botany, the term division has been used instead of phylum, as said earlier. Now I want to look at the class. What is a class in taxonomic classification? A class basically constitutes one or more than one similar others. One or more than one similar others. So, for instance, in the class Amphibia, which is made of amphibians, you have the order Anura, the order Chordata. Anura is made up of frogs and toads. Chordata is made up of salamanders. Then we have the order Apoda that's made up of the Caecilians. So all of these are amphibians. Okay, they are classified into the class Amphibia. The next hierarchical level is the order. And what's the order? The order constitutes one or more similar families. One or more similar families make up the order Anura. Order is more specific rank than class. For instance, there are around 26 orders in the class Mammalia, such as primates and carnivora and others. Then we have the family. What's a family? This category of taxonomic hierarchy includes various genera or genus that share a few similarities. So various genus form a family. Then we have the genus. What is a genus? A genus basically refers to a group of similar species. Okay, a group of similar species. Okay, like in the genus Tympanotonus, we have Tympanotonus fuscatus and others. Okay, some genera have one species, and those genera are said to be monotypic, and others have more than one species, and such genera are referred to as polytypic. For example, lion and tiger are placed under the genus Panthera. Okay, so they have two genera. Now, what is a species? A species is the last taxonomic rank. Okay, species are the eighth. Species are a group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding. A group of organisms that are similar and are capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding. So they should be able to interbreed, have sexual relationship, or in other ways able to fertilize and produce offsprings, viable offsprings. They are a group of organisms that are similar in shape, form, and reproductive structure. They are similar in shape, form, and reproductive features. Examples, want to have a typical example of taxonomy. We want to use humans. We, the humans, belong to the domain Eukaryota. We belong to the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Primates, family Hominidae, genus Homo, and the species Sapiens. So we are Homo sapiens. So basically, taxonomic ranks are always capitalized except for species. For instance, the taxonomic rank domain, the D is usually capital. The first letter is usually capital. Also, the genus and species names must be italicized or underlined. Okay, so when you're writing the names of the genus or the species, if you're typing, it should be italicized or underlined. But if it's handwritten, it should be underlined to differentiate the genus and species name from other text. The first letter of this letter, basically of the genus and the species, written in capital, while the first letter of the species is written in small letter. The species is also called specific epithet. It's called a specific epithet. So, for instance, in the species Homo sapiens, Homo is capital, sapiens. Homo, the first letter of Homo is capital, and the second letter, the sapiens, starts with small letter. The ratus is. Then we have Tympanotonus fuscatus as examples. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Please watch more of my interesting videos in my YouTube and TikTok channels. And please don't forget to subscribe or share.